killed Bambi. We'll have to give Bambi a moment of silence. It says she killed Bambi. Then we have a whole bunch of extra work to do. Because we can't just fix the damage like normal people would do. We've got to redo the whole car. Because that's the way it always works. So, in the process of redoing the whole car, which I thought was cherry, we found a little bit of rust in some kind of bad places. Because the undercoaters didn't bother to do where it actually needed undercoat. They just did everything that shows and made a complete mess of the car. So we're going to cut this out. We're going to save this piece for a template, and then we're going to weld a new piece in. And we'll sandblast behind that, inside that double layer, and clean that up, and then put weld through primer on it. And hopefully we can make something that'll last. And because we live up here in Canada, this car doesn't see winters, but there's still a lot of moisture. We'll put a little bit of undercoating in here where it doesn't show before we put the fender liners in, and under those rocker covers and that sort of thing. Not real fussy about late model cars, but this is the life, so this is what we have to do. Try to keep my original body lines here and the original lip because it's very nice, and I'll try to get up here far enough that I'm past any of the rusty stuff that's gotten in between the layers. You can see the swelling right here. You can see it pushing. Probably can't see it on camera, but I can see that it's swelled up. So I'm going to cut up here, probably up to here, so I'm past the swelling, and then we'll look at it and we'll see if there's still rust in the back of the piece I'm cutting off. Well, we'll go further. That second layer of steel inside, so I don't want to cut through both layers, so I'm going to take my time here and try to just cut the top, and I'll just work it back and forth and see when I finally get through. So no real big surprise, but we do have the inner structure has a little bad spot. The rest of it seems quite good. We'll sandblast it after and confirm that. But I'm going to cut out a little piece right here, and we'll do the same thing on the inner structure before we do the outer structure. So we cut out the old that you saw, and this is the piece I cut off right here. So I just lay this over top of a sheet of steel and just use it as a template. Now I cut it bigger than this piece, which is kind of something you need to do, and then just slowly fit it. I fit the bottom already, and it's all down through here pretty nice, into the corner pretty nice. Right at the corner I might massage just a little bit. Up here in the front it's good, so right in there a little bit. You see here it's okay, up here it's a little bit high. So I take a grinder, a little air disc, and just very slowly shave what I think I need to change until it fits. Because if I make this fit nice, it's going to weld nice. If it welds nice, it's going to finish nice. Everything you do sets you up for the next step. So I'll just keep working this back just a little bit up here now. And I try to do it by memory. Sometimes you get a marker out if it's really complicated. I screw it up, I just start over. You can see there, it's still tight. It's really tight all the way up to there. So I'm gonna just knock some more off. Well, she's all fit. I'm pretty happy with it. It's not tight as I'd want it for TIG welding, but I'm not going to TIG weld it anyway. It's pretty decent. Fits up there pretty tight everywhere. Once you finally get it, it's a little hard to get in place because it does fit tight. Once you get it in, it's pretty good. So there won't be a whole lot of welding there. And this thing is going to be a little tricky to weld because the metal's really thin on this car. So it's going to want to warp. So it's going to be a lot of spotting and air or snow. Snow's real good if you live up here this time of year. But anyway, before I do any more, I got to blast this. I'll weld this inside patch on that I made. Same process. And then grind that up. I'll put weld through primer in here. And then I'll weld this. And then do the seam seal on the backside, put it right back factory, grind it off, a little bit of fill. Hopefully a little bit of fill, we're good to go. This bunch, this wheel well, the way this is made, this lip, if it warps, it's gonna be no getting it back. It's double wall, I can't fix it. So if I can, I'm gonna do my very best. If I can not have this buckle on me at all, this will be a very easy finish, very little fill. And it'll be almost as good as new. All right, so we got it all welded or all cut. The inside, I welded a patch in there, and we cut this out before. I sprayed weld through primer in there, so everything won't rust. I sandblasted it all first, and I sandblasted a bunch of stuff on it. I pounded it pretty good just to, if there's a problem, I want to know about it now. And sandblasting will help you out a lot in that. The other side, I even hit that a little bit just to see if there was anything. It's all clean. So we're gonna put this thing in. And what I want to do, I want to start. I got some places that are a little tighter than others. I want to weld the tight spots first. As it goes, it's gonna, as your weld cools off, it shrinks, it pulls in. So it'll make your wider spots closer. If you start with your wider spots, it's gonna make your tight spots overlap or buckle. So I'm going to start with my tight spots and keep moving and keep putting air on the weld just so I don't warp it. And I'm just going to tack it. I'm going to keep doing a series of tacks and just keep moving around and keeping it cool. Don't get any concentrated heat in one particular place, because as soon as you concentrate your heat, that's it. You're going to have a warp. It may be a manageable warp, may not, but if you don't, once you start it warping, it just keeps building. So perfect world, never let it get too hot in one spot. So we're gonna just very slowly keep working our way around and keep checking our fit. I'm gonna get all the corners tacked down. If I need to, if I have something that's overlapping, if I need to, I can take a file, zip cut, whatever, and make room. I'm okay here. So far, so good. Everything's working. But I'll keep an eye on it. I'll put it on a time lapse, and you can watch it go around and see what I do. It's because this is going to take a while. Patience is your friend here. If you get impatient and you start running, you just want to weld it up, you're going to pay for it on the finish work later. So a little more time here is a lot less time after. I'll put it on a time lapse. You get to see it go, and you'll see me put air on it. And I'm not going to put air on it trying to. I know some guys will try to draw in a bowl, let it heat up, blow up a little bit, and try and draw it in. I'm going to try to keep it cool to where that never happens, because I might do that in some cases if I'm heavier steel or the right place with an angle that's going to hold it, or I'm just pushing my luck that day. This thing is thin enough, and if it goes, it's the way this curvature is. If it goes, it's going to just make a hell of a mess for a lot further up this quarter than I want to deal with. Ground off my welds to check for what wasn't welded, because old age and crappy eyesight kind of have to do that stuff. I'm going to go and clean up my little spots that weren't welded, and I'm not going to grind this thing like flat like you see on everybody's show, because if I grind that so you don't see any weld at all, you're gonna grind into your metal. I mean, it's going to get thin. So maybe somebody's good enough to do it. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. But regardless, I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to grind it a little more than what it is with a soft disc. But I'm not going nuts. And then I'm just going to be ready to apply fill. If I happen to see another pinhole or something like that, I'm going to address it. But otherwise, I'll weld it up, whatever. But otherwise, I'm just going to finish grinding. And I'll knock it off with the Scotch-Brite pad after, just to get rid of any impurities on it. I'm going to grind it back here a little ways to apply my fill. It's going to be very, very thin up here. There's no warpage here. Very, very, very slight right there. If I put a straight edge on it, though, I can't see light, but I can feel it. Don't really care. I'm going to fill this flat anyway, so, you know, it's going to be thin fill. It'll never bother. It's not going to be an issue. Underneath, I don't push hard at all down in here. I just want to knock the paint off, because there will be a little bit of fill along the edge. The other thing on this, you can't overheat with a grinder. You can actually warp with a grinder. Not real common with these little air grinders, but you can. So just bear it in mind. Keep feeling it. If it gets hot to your hand, it doesn't have to go much further than that to warp. So if you start feeling heat and it's uncomfortable, normally I like to don't like to get it past warm, just to be safe. But I mean, normally I work on old stuff and it's made a lot thicker than this, so it's not even an issue. But this car, wow, it's always an issue. It's just nowhere near the issue this one is. But anytime you work with a body line like this, where if it warps, it's going to make a big, because it's rounded here and it's rounded here. So if something decides to move on that, it's going to be bad. So I'm pretty conscious of it every time I touch this. Well, there you go. It's all done. There's no pinholes. It's straight. It'll finish in very easily. You can actually feel a little bit right there where I was sandblasting, where it's worked the metal a little bit, but nothing, no big deal. I got to put fill on it no matter what I'm going to do here anyway, so there's no way to finish that. No, I mean, I wouldn't even want to try to metal finish this. Some people are real snobbish about it, and that's what they want to do and whatever, but I mean, I still say the only way to do that is to thin the metal, and you'd have to be unbelievably good to just finish the weld and never touch your parent metal. I don't see how you'd ever do it. My patch steel is really quite heavy, so I could get into that, but the metal of the car, to me, that would be a huge mistake. But a little fill. I've put fill on cars that have been there over 30 years and never moved a bit, so if you put it on a clean surface, you never got to worry. Just don't put it over like shiny paint or shiny primer or dirty stuff or anything like that, because it will lift on you after a while. But if you clean it really good, you can put an epoxy primer and put it on top of an epoxy, or you can put it on bare metal if it's roughed up good with a disc. And it'll, as long as the water can't get behind it, if it adheres good, it's never moving. It's pretty simple stuff. So I'll mix up some fill, put it on there, and finish her up. That's the second coat of body fill. First coat, I just knocked it off with the air sander quick and then finished it quick with a board. Just shooting for a general, see where my highs and lows are and that sort of thing. I had to peck in the welds here just a little bit. Nothing big, just try not to have that sticking through, because as this stuff shrinks, and it will shrink, the weld may show after. So I tend to err on the side of the caution for that. I'll finish it by hand now, because this probably might be the last coat. Maybe I'll put a third coat, but this is probably the last coat. So I'll do this one by hand and then see where it goes. see it's really thin. You can see through it everywhere when I'm done. All this up here, you'll be able to see through it. It just helps me blend all this line and have it come in nice. Up here I went up over the paint just to spread it, make it easier to spread. I have to cut it off. I don't want to leave that over that. I had scuffed the paint up a little bit with 36 grit with the air sander, but I don't like leaving that. Just keep feeling it, make sure it's straight. This up here on the white, I can feel that stuff's a little high there. I have to knock that stuff off. The rest of it feels real good. I think that little weld right there, I'll peck that in a little bit with a hammer because it's whereas it doesn't stick up. I still have to 80 grit it to get the grit out. I don't want to lay up too much primer on this. So I'll knock that down just a hair. I'll 80 grit it. It'll be done. Got her. I know I said that Mrs. Everything Horsepower killed Bambi. She didn't kill Bambi actually. She killed Bambi's daddy. I mean, we got him on the dash cam. So all you hunters out there, yeah, not so good. This was during hunting season. At night. I don't know if you were chasing him or you just weren't real good at catching a stupid deer because he ran out in front of a white car with black stripes and dual exhaust with the bright lights on and squealing tires. He actually didn't quite make it in front of the car. He ran right into the fender. But perhaps not a genius. Real nice though. Anyway, I kind of have to thank you because we found a bunch of crap and we're going to get ahead of this car actually. Because I was surprised to find this, and there's a couple other spots where paint had come off, and it's going to be all cleaned up, and we're going to get underneath all this crapola and get some proper undercoating up under those wheel wells that go in there, and well, a pretty nice job on it when it's all done. And it'll last for years because it doesn't go out in the winter anymore. It has seen 10 winters, so it's not 10 winters. So it's in the city where it's salt all the time. So I can't complain about it. It's actually in pretty good shape overall, but that was a bit of a surprise to me. So anyway, like that, she's new.